afternoon, everyone. Good day, everyone, wherever you are. Welcome to another Amazon and Afriprenuer series on Agbari TV. Like we usually do, this interview series from Agbari Multimedia Company is where we usually showcase and celebrate Amazons and Afripreneurs on the African continent. And like I say every week, our mission is to inspire you into greatness. If you've been listening, by celebrating winning Amazons and Afripreneurs in Africa. And we always bring them from everywhere. And today, of course, again, I have a very, very, versatile African who will be joining me. But before then, let me quickly remind you that if you have any questions or comments, kindly drop in the comment section and we'll surely get back to you. You can also tweet at us or you drop a comment on our Facebook or Instagram pages and we'll get back to you. Today, I'm here with an amazing Amazon that has distinguished herself in the medical world. And as usual, before I bring her on, I'd like to let you into her bio to know a little bit about her.
Dr. Lucy Amaniyo is a pediatrician who has worked with children for the last 10 years. Upon completion of her internship in 2013, she was retained by Mulago Hospital as the medical officer in charge of the special care unit and later the sickle cell clinic. Dr. Lucy holds a bachelor's degree in medicine and surgery, a master's degree in public health, and a master's degree in pediatrics and child health, all from the Makerere University. She is a recipient of the prestigious Department of Pediatrics Electives Program at the University of Minnesota in 2019. Her passion for bringing quality healthcare closer to underserved communities started as far back as 2016 when she started Dr. Lucy's Medical Clinic, Nakasaja, a medical facility that was solely started to provide quality medical services to the semi-rural area of Nakasaja, Mukono. Her work in this community led her to be recognized by the President Obama Mandela Washington Fellowship in 2017. It is this wealth of experience, passion, and knowledge that led Dr. Lucy to Amani Children's Clinic, Nansana, a specialist pediatric providing much-needed specialist pediatric services to the community of Nansana and surrounding areas. She is excellent and outstanding in her work, an African Amazon worthy of recognition.
Let me quickly bring Dr. Lucy on. Welcome, Dr. Lucy.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Dr. Hello.
Hi. Hello.
I'd like to hear a little bit about you. What else did we not capture in your bio?
Okay, so my name is Dr.
Very well,
Amaniyo.
very well.
I'm a Ugandan and I live in Uganda. I'm a pediatrician and public health specialist who is doubly mastered in public health and pediatrics and child health, as you saw from the bio. I'm also a Mandela Washington Fellow of 2017 from the University of Iowa. And I was also the recipient of the Pediatric Department Electives Program at the University of Minnesota. And I've been working with children for over 15 years, right from when I was an intern to when I qualified as a medical officer, to throughout all the work that I've done has been directly involved with children. So I'm very, very passionate about children and very excited to be the head pediatrician and managing director of Amani Children's Clinic. This is a specialist pediatric clinic that opened its doors in February 2022, so we are still in baby steps. However, this clinic was opened to serve much needed population of Nansana. So it's the only pediatric clinic in a radius of about 50 kilometers. So we serve a really huge population of about 100,000. And the advantage and value proposition that we offer is the fact that we have pediatricians on site and that we are open 24 hours. So anytime a parent walks in, they are assured of seeing a pediatrician at whatever time of the day or night. So something else that you don't know about me, maybe from the bio, is that my entire life journey has been, I always call it a series of miracles, because there's a lot that has happened in my life that is really unexplainable by, science or the human brain, because I've gotten to where I am because of connections and the people I've met. I was orphaned at the age of 13 when I lost both my parents to HIV/AIDS. And that's when I decided that I wanted to be a doctor, and I wanted to sort of make my contribution to the world to change some of the narratives. So I am very passionate about orphaned and vulnerable children because I was one, and because of the people that God put in my path, I was able to grab certain opportunities and get to where I am right now. So all my work and everything that I do is focused on improving the livelihoods of vulnerable children. So I always look for the most vulnerable or needy communities, and that's where I do my work, starting with Dr. Lucy's medical clinic, which was really we were offering general medical services. It wasn't a specialist clinic. So it was located in Nakasaja, which is a semi-rural population. And choosing to go there was still because I really wanted to go to a place that had vulnerable children. And so that has been the driving force behind everything that I do. I keep remembering where I've come from. I keep remembering the fact that I could have dropped out of school if it wasn't for good Samaritans that came in my path and believed in me and supported me and offered to pay my school fees until I was able to make it to Makerere University on the government scholarship. So my journey has been really a journey of a lot of resilience and a lot of hard work and a lot of grit, because it could have gone any other way. I mean, being an orphaned girl child in Uganda, you're really, really vulnerable. And I was in a situation where I did not have like relatives who could have held my hand, maybe my aunties or uncles. So it was good Samaritans that stepped up to take care of me. And I don't take that for granted, and I don't forget where I've come from. So I always use my past to benchmark everything that I do. Thank you.
Amazing, really amazing story that you have there. But how would you say this as, apart from, paying back, how do you see the world, the standards? Would it not have been nice if you had a structure, government institution provided to sort of give you a buffer? So maybe you could get a welfare and educational grants, something like that that was structured that yes, Good Samaritans reached out, but wouldn't it have been better that an orphan automatically becomes taken over by the state and the state provides certain basic educational needs and personal needs that you might have?
Yes, I agree. I wish that our government could have, even if they are sort of like um, loan programs, loan schemes, whereby, say, you're an orphaned or vulnerable child, you could sort of borrow money or get a loan that you can pay back once you're able to. I wish that was possible, but right now, I think I wouldn't say that the government has totally ignored it. To give them credit, to give our government credit, they've started a loan scheme at the university level. However, I think it's been derailed by corruption, as always, and a lot of bureaucracy at the moment, because there are two concurrent programs running. So there is what we call the government scholarship, which is really free. There's no payback. So as long as you make it on merit to Makerere University or any other government university, meaning you've scored highly at your high school exam, then you automatically qualify for what is called the government scholarship, whereby your tuition is paid throughout and you don't have to pay back. So alongside that, there's a loan scheme for those who cannot make it but are vulnerable in one way or the other. They can access funds and then pay back slowly. The loan scheme has just started. I would say it's less than 5 years in the making. So there's still a lot of bureaucracy, and all this is mad with corruption and people having to make shortcuts, which has really derailed the purpose of the loan scheme. However, to add, this is at the higher institution level. So there are a lot of children and vulnerable children in the lower institutions, in primary school, in high school, who get forgotten, who get laid off. And it's worse if you're a girl child, because then people do not, there's still the mentality of not investing in girl children and marrying them off, or things like that. So there are those societal problems that would impede the girl child from progressing. And so right now it's just Good Samaritans and a few NGOs, but it's also hard to the awareness about the NGOs that can offer help is also really low. So children who are deep in the villages, in hard to reach areas, they don't get to know about these opportunities. And most times these things come only if you're exceptionally brilliant. And so you're recognized maybe by the media or by the area member of parliament, and that's when you're picked on. But there are those who are not that exceptionally brilliant, but could also benefit from these schemes. So yes, I wish our government could put in place schemes or organizations that specifically deal with children who are vulnerable and orphaned, especially the girl child. I know the narrative is usually about the girl child, but it's because they're the ones at a higher disadvantage, and that they're the ones at most risk of early marriage, of being abused, and of being taken advantage of. Yes.
So you have a peculiar story. This vulnerability that you had to go have at a stage in life, yet you got achievements, you got, your medical degree, you became a specialist in pediatric medicine, and got a recognition by the President Obama Mandela Foundation Fellowship. How did you then, achieve all of this? Aside the support, what drove you? What drive did you have at the time? And how were you able to scale this academically without, being bothered about your situation?
So I would say that, like I said before, I'm a really firm believer in God, and I feel like I owe everything to Him. Yes, I was really brilliant. I'm not going to refute that fact, but I was also, I don't want to say I was lucky, I was blessed. God put into, there were things that happened just at the right moment that I myself cannot explain. However, there were some attributes that you learn when you're an orphan. You learn to take care of yourself at an early stage. And there are certain things that come with being in a vulnerable situation. So I've always been really hardworking. I've also been very resilient, because for me, from an early stage, I knew that my education was the ticket, the way out for me, that I had to get a good education if I was going to amount to anything. And I was blessed to be in a situation where I won so many bursaries right from primary school. We always had bursaries for, if you were the most brilliant student at the end of the year, for the following year, you would study for free. So I was lucky that I was able to get that bursary every year. And even when I proceeded to secondary school, because of my brilliance, I was able to get scholarships. So I made it through with scholarships and performing really well. And then I made it to the government scholarship that I talked about earlier, the one that's offered by the government of Uganda, which is on merit. And so it's been really hard, a lot of hard work, resilience, knowing that, there's no other option. I didn't have any fallback plan. For example, I couldn't say that, if I fail to make it on government scholarship, there is an opportunity that my parents would pay for me. I didn't have that option. There was no, because sometimes if you fail to make it to the government scholarship, you can go the private way, whereby the parents can pay tuition, which is a hefty amount. So I didn't have that option. I knew that there was no plan B, there's no, if I don't make it on government scholarship, my parents may pay. That wasn't an option for me. So it had to be either it's government scholarship or nothing else, you make it to pediatrics, because it's also a tight, the window for being accepted for the pediatrics program is quite tight. So I knew if I want to be a pediatrician, I have to make it for this program. There's no other option. So that has always been my philosophy in life. There is no other option, and I think that's why I've always given 100% to everything that I do. And along with that, God putting in place people. I've met people at different points in my life that have changed my life and elevated it to the next level. I don't know if that makes sense, but at every point where I've needed to get from point A to B, there's always been someone who has been put by God to really make sure that I get to the next point. And so that's why from the beginning of the interview, I said that my life has been a series of miracles. Yeah, thanks.
I totally agree. But I'll come back to you because your story is one interesting one. I would use a lot on the interview. But let's quickly come back to, because while we're talking, you talked about the scholarship and then you talked about, corruption. This is something every country in Africa seems to know the meaning of in different ways. In Africa and most parts of the world, we see standards being lowered every day, especially for those like for females. And you have demonstrated excellence by bringing quality health care closer to the communities that you talked about and your hospital that you said, you just started. How would you suggest we bring back excellence into daily lives, our daily lives as Africans, and put an end to the bias about the girl child?
So first of all, it's us, the women and the girls who have made it, really in quotes, who have gotten to a certain point where we're in positions to change the narrative. It's us who should demonstrate excellence and be in a situation where we show people that women can do this too. Because I've seen in my daily life, in my work, I have seen situations where positions are given to women just to test them to see if they can meet the standard. And us women, when we get to those positions, we have to work twice as hard to prove ourselves that we are worth the position that's been handed to us. So those of us who are in positions where we can change the narrative, for example, through such fora, we need to let people know that women can do this as well as or even better than the men. So that's one thing that women who are in positions to change the narrative should always speak out. Everyone, wherever you are, speak out, and protect the girl child. And the other thing is the government should also invest. What the government has done, actually, they have sort of invested in the girl child, but we need to strengthen that. Right now, for entry into the higher institution university programs, the girls are added 1.5 points, which is if say you needed 40 points to make it to the government scholarship and you had 38.5, if you're a girl, you added 1.5, and so you get the 40. So that's in a bid to pull more women into the STEM space, the science and technology space. So that has been done already by the government, and we can strengthen such programs. We can also have scholarships that are, mainly for girls only,
Yes.
because we've had a lot of, the narrative has always been that girls cannot make it into the STEM space. It's a space for men. And once you make it in there, everyone looks at you, they frown down on you. So those are the things that you're trying to change. And there are some things which are really societal, things which have been handed over, traditions and customs from way back, about girls getting married off at 18 and things like that. And so I believe that we need role models, especially from such areas. For example, where I come from in West Nile, which is in the northwest part of the country, it's believed that girls cannot amount to, I don't want to say to amount to anything, but once you hit 18, you should get married. You should have,
You,
I probably have maybe 10 children by now if I had stayed in the village. But us who come from such villages and then we amount to something need to go back and change the narrative from down there, because everyone is trying to get to Kampala, which is the capital city, and right down in the grassroots, there are not many role models that these girls can look up to. So if the neighbor got married at 18, the neighbor's neighbor also got married at 18, they don't have anyone else to look up to say that, you know what, so and so did not get married at 18. She's a doctor and I can do that too. So we need to go back to the grassroots and empower the women and the girls starting from there to improve excellence and to also change the narrative and the mindset of the society starting from the grassroots.
okay. So I was going to ask, because our listeners are young ones, like we talked about, are mostly girls, and we're looking at inspiring them to have big dreams and go for those dreams and have proper standards and not, give something for something like they usually say. And so, because of that, I would love you to share with me what you would consider risk and challenges, and what strategies you use whenever you need to take a risk and whenever you need to deal with a challenge on your path to career success.
So, really, I believe that the challenges that we face as women cut across everywhere, especially in Africa. I have come to learn that the challenges are not unique to me or to any someone in Nigeria or someone in, they cut across and they're the same. And I would like to tell our listeners out there that you're going to face very many challenges. Your morals and your beliefs, you're going to question yourself so many times. And you're going to be tested by life over and over and over again. So you need to develop principles, things that are that you cannot compromise on as a person. You know, one of the things that I do really, I have some non-negotiable principles. The things that me as Dr. Lucy, I cannot compromise on as a person. And one of those is corruption. And I've seen it so bad in the medical world, because once you accept something for something or make shortcuts, it can actually cost a life, you know. It's not just in other avenues whereby, I don't know, maybe a road gets spoiled or something. Once you do that in the medical field, you can actually lose a life. And I've seen this a lot in the National Referral Hospital way back where I did my internship, whereby services are supposed to be free, but because someone wants to get a service quickly, they give something, then they're moved up the line. Then a child who is even sicker or needs more urgent attention doesn't get it. And someone who paid something and is not as sick gets to be seen faster. So you find that this really sick child whose mother cannot afford to give something ends up dying. So some of those things really, they really test your patience and your principles So to the girls listening in right now, please have some principles that you cannot negotiate, that are non-negotiables for you. It may be that you do not take something to be able to do your work, which is corruption, really, that even if someone gave you a bribe, you would not accept it. It could be sexual favors, in that you're not going to use to use sex as a way to advance your career. It could
Yes.
be that for you, domestic violence is a non-negotiable. If you're in a violence of any kind, if you're in a relationship and your partner, your husband abuses you either physically or emotionally, that could be the non-negotiable for you, that you cannot stay in such a relationship and you walk away. So have your principles, be empathetic, do good. I have really learned that doing good has a way to come back to you. So do good, be a good person, and the other thing that I've found has been really, really important for me is having very good people skills. Your interpersonal skills and the way you relate to people is very, very key, because it doesn't matter, even if you feel like this person is beneath you on the social ladder, on the financial ladder, on the beauty ladder, on
Yeah.
the on any ladder, really, you feel that no, this person, I'm more beautiful than them, I have more money, or I come from a richer family. Treat that person the same way you would treat someone who you feel is above you, because you can never predict life. Life is so unpredictable. The same person who you feel is below you today can be the person who is above you. So for me, I think maybe because of the fact that I always felt that I can always get help from anyone. I never, ever, throughout my life journey, I have never taken anyone for granted. And I found that so many people, for example, like I mentioned earlier, to be honest, I was really brilliant in school and all the schools that I went through. And there were people who were less brilliant than me. However, when we've grown up and life has leveled us out, you find that this person who you thought was less brilliant than you owns a business or is a contact that you need to move from one place to the other. So life has somehow equaled us out or flipped the ladder to a point where it
Yeah.
doesn't even matter. The things which seem so important right now for those who are still below 20, the things that seem so important, for example, right now, social media is the thing. The people who have so many likes on TikTok, on Facebook, you post a picture on Instagram, it gets one like, you end up depressed for a week. Those things will not matter 10 years from now. They won't. No one will remember that 10 years ago you posted a picture and it got only one like. So there are more important things that no one will even, you have a crush on this boy. I'm talking to the ones who are quite young, less than 20. You have a crush on this boy. He does not even see you. He does not even recognize that you exist. That same boy will not even matter 10 years from now. You may have forgotten his name. So please remain true to your values, remain true to your cause. If you want to be a doctor, work hard towards that. There's a plan, if I want to be a doctor, I have to score highly in this exam, I have to do this, I have to do that. Let that be your focus. If you want to be, say, a singer, you can be anything you want as long as you stay focused and you work hard. Please work hard. There are no shortcuts. You cannot expect to put in 2% and you get 100. Please work hard, and all this will come back to you. And everyone you meet is a potential, how can I say it? Build your social capital. Social capital is so important. Right now I'm having this interview because of someone that I met at the University of Iowa in 2017. So if I hadn't, had a good relationship with
Relationship.
him, with Professor Butali, I wouldn't be here. He would have forgotten me. 2017 is 5 years ago. So you
Yes.
never know what you're going to gain from the person you meet. So please use every contact as a potential opportunity to take you to the next level. Build your social capital. You should be in a situation where if you got a problem, there's a minimum of 5 people in your contact list who can help you solve that
Very
problem in
important.
less than an hour. You know, for example, if my power went off in the house, I have 5. I'm just giving an example. You have 5 contacts that you can call, and power is back on in your house in less than an hour. That's how you build social capital. And also, you should also be the kind of person who is easily contacted. You get as much as you give, you know. So for me, that would be my advice to everyone out there. Yeah.
Very, very
Thank
important. But let me quickly tap into your wealth of experience. What would you consider failure, and how do you view success? What would you consider success? You know, how do you have any belief in the success and failure thing? What would you consider success, and what would you consider failure? What's your definition of it?
So I don't really consider anything a failure because I consider it a lesson. Whatever it is that happens, I consider it a lesson. For example, what some people would consider a failure is the fact that I had to close Dr. Lucy's medical clinic last year during the COVID wave. Someone else would look at it as a failure, and they would be right, I guess, to some extent, because the COVID wave really hit us hard, especially the first one. We were on lockdown, and that my clinic wasn't really a profit-making clinic. The one in Nakasaja, it was open to meet overhead costs and to serve the community. So when we were hit by the COVID wave, we failed to meet our overheads. I was literally having to put in money from my own salary and also from donations here and there. And one of our funders cut funding during the COVID wave because they decided to focus more on COVID, and the funds were repurposed to another initiative. So once that funding was cut, we had to look for other sources of funding, including me putting in more of my personal funds to keep the clinic open. And so it reached a point where we were barely keeping our doors open. And then the landlord of the building that we were using decided that she wanted to triple the rent from what we were paying to 3 times.
That's full time.
And this was while we were in COVID. And so I tried to talk to her. I told her, you know what, let's discuss when COVID is done, when the lockdown has been lifted, when we're getting more patients. However, she was hell-bent on tripling the rent, I guess because she needed more revenue. So because of that, I had to have a conversation with myself and to decide whether it was worth it to keep the doors of Dr. Lucy's clinic open. And after really having an honest conversation with myself, I decided to close the clinic. And so most people looked at it as a failure, that, oh, this is your baby, this was your clinic, you started it with your funds, but now you're closing it. But for me, it was really a lesson learned. It was a lesson learned, and I used all those lessons I learned to come together with to come up with a proposal for Amani Children's Clinic. And I was blessed enough that the proposal was accepted, and so I was able to open this other clinic. And I never looked at Dr. Lucy's medical clinic as a failure, because while we were open, we were able to carry out over 4 medical camps, whereby we would give free medical care to over 1,000 patients a day, and provide really free services with different specialties, and we were able to change the face of medical care in Nakasaja. So I don't consider anything as failure. Trust me, I don't. I just consider it as lesson learned. And then as for success, I measure my success by how many lives I've impacted. So
Very important.
for me, if I have changed or impacted someone's life in a day, that's a successful day for me. If a family comes to Amani Children's Clinic and the child gets well on the treatment that we've given, that's a successful day for me. If, for example, with Amani, we opened in February, the first month we saw about 28 patients in the whole month. The next month we saw 90 something. The following month we saw 100 and something. So the growth in the numbers of patients that we are seeing is a success for me, because for me that means that we are impacting more lives and more people are beginning to believe in us and to see that we know what we are doing. So that's how I measure my success, in terms of how many people's lives I've impacted.
So grateful for this interview because you didn't just share with me some motivational speakers definition of it, but you had real life examples that would inspire anybody listening. But I would like you to know if you have a mentoring group for young girls or young people that someone can reach out to you. Or do you mind sharing your social media handles so someone can follow you if they have questions or they need help with their own situation?
Yeah, sure. The Mandela Washington Fellowship had a mentorship program. Just when we had come back, you could mentor someone else. And in Uganda, we also have the yearly mentorship program where we mentor young girls. And I've also been doing it on a personal level. So anyone who wants to reach out to me, I'm available on Instagram. I'm available on LinkedIn. Those are my names, the ones on the screen, Dr. Lucy Amaniyo. They're the same names I use on all my social media. So Facebook, you have my WhatsApp number, you have my permission to share it. LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm on all social media platforms except TikTok. I'm not on TikTok.
Even I am not on TikTok. I'm afraid of that. I'm not ready for it.
Yeah.
But so, I must say that you're very approachable, very open and accommodating person. Because I am a public person in Nigeria and I wouldn't share my WhatsApp number. So I know for a fact that what you've just shared in your interview has been someone who would never class or look down at people is a fact. Just by that fact that you said we have your permission to put your WhatsApp number out there, it means that you're not afraid, you're not worried, you just want to help. And I pray that for all that you have done, that you're rewarded even more. Because I see that there's a light of God around you and you find more
Amen.
favors.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm personally inspired by this interview, and I hope those listening too are inspired. But Dr. Lucy, quickly, advise a young girl who has a dream to be a medical doctor, but she's stepping into campus for the first time. She doesn't know where to start. What would you advise that their strategy at school on campus would be?
So one of the things, I'll start with this before I give advice. One of the things that I've found really, really affects medical students' mental health is the fact that most of the times people who make it to medical school are really brilliant minds. You've been on top of your class all your life, because most times medical school is one of the hardest things to get into all over the world. Really, you have to have certain grades. So
And
these
law
are people
school.
who are used to being brilliant. And then
Mhm.
from my experience, especially the first year of medical school, you do some really hard exams and you see marks that you've never seen in your life. If you're used to getting A's and B's in class, in your lower classes, you're getting distinctions, then you get to medical school and you get a credit or you get a pass. Sometimes this derails medical students so badly, or you get you fail an exam and you have to resit it, or you have an opportunity to do it the next year, or to do what they call a supplementary exam, depending really on your university rules of engagement. So sometimes you find that students get so demoralized and demotivated by this, and their mental health is affected so much in that they somehow end up, they never recover, especially those who say fail an exam. You fail an exam and you go into a depression and you don't recover for the rest of medical school. Young girl, young boy who has dreams of becoming a doctor, please do not give up. Do not give up. You have not failed. Take that as a lesson to do better. Medical school is a lot of hard work. You reach a point, and even the medical field as a doctor, you reach a point whereby you find that you have to balance maybe 4 or 5 different things. You have an exam, you have to be on the ward seeing patients, you have to prepare for presentations, your Professor X is on your case to work on your research. So it is very easy to get overwhelmed. Please guard your mental health jealously. Find a way to balance. Find a way to find a work-life balance. Find that thing that helps you to release the stress of medical school. If it's music, blast music in your room, dance to it. I'm saying that because that was my stress relief. I'd put music on the loudest and then dance to it, and then I get the motivation to go on. If it's movies, take an hour or two, watch a movie, go back and read. Please guard your mental health jealously throughout medical school. That's one of my pieces of advice. And this comes from experience. In Makerere University, where I work as an honorary lecturer, you find that once students fail one exam, it's so difficult for them to bounce back from that. And they feel like they have failed because this has never happened in their life before. They've never ever gotten a pass. So please guard your mental health jealously, okay? And be focused, know what you want. Medical school, you must attend the lecture. There's no shortcut about it. The other thing that I've experienced that I want to talk about is the fact that sometimes you find children these young boys and young girls are forced to do these medical degrees because of parental pressure. I mean, sometimes you find that parents are like, oh, you must be the first doctor in our family. It does not matter what you want to do. If you want engineering or whatever, like, no, you must be the first doctor in our family. Please make sure your voice is heard. If medical school is not what you want, please convince your parents to allow you to do the course that you want. I have friends who have completed medical school and they've taken a totally different career path because they never dreamt of being doctors. So please air out your views early and make sure you're heard. However, if medical school and being a doctor has always been your dream, work hard. There are no shortcuts about it. Work hard. If you must see those 4 patients to be able to get accreditation, see those 4 patients. Whatever it is that you have to do, make sure that you do it so that you don't flunk out of medical school. Yes.
Thank you so much. And on behalf of the management of Agbari Multimedia Company, I must say thank you for your time and the impactful counsel you shared. I hope that everybody listening are impacted. I have been inspired by what your story
Thank
and
you so
how
much.
what you have become at the end of the day. Thank you so much. I hope when we call you next time, I'll be privileged to get your attention as well.
No problem. I'm always here for you.
Thank you so much. All right. Have a
Thank you so
beautiful
much.
day today.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Bye.
much. And thank you to everyone who has watched this. I am blessed to have met you virtually. Please reach out to me. I will always respond. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
All right. Bye.
And to the Agbari multimedia family out there, I must say thank you for watching. And don't forget to like and share and subscribe. And do not forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Till I come your way again next time, I am Nima Akashat Zibiri. I say, be inspired by this interview and get ready to be the next Amazon and Afripreneur to be celebrated on the show. Bye.
Bonanle, I'm not fine at all. Why? It's like I'm dying slowly.
Madam, from the result I have here, we only diagnosed influenza. What were you trying to do?
I was going to ask Google.
What gave you the impetus, the audacity to do this? A receptionist in my hospital? Now your brother is here? On an emergency?
You know, this is COVID period, and which is why I'm wearing my face mask. Because I don't even know if I have COVID. I think you should just get COVID test done.
Get out! Out!
But when my result came back, it showed that my white blood cell was on low normal.
First of all of us, it's medical jargons, okay?
And I almost committed suicide.
While I'm alive, that's not happening.